Hi, everyone. I just need to help a couple of our ANCs get the link again, and we will start shortly. Okay, which is Commissioner Van Wy will be running late and may not be able to join, but I do see that Commissioner Jones is getting logged in, and then we'll proceed. So thanks to our guests that are waiting in the wings. I see you in the participant list.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. How are you doing, Ellen?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good.
Keep going between hot, it's warm. um so Sean, we have a short agenda tonight. The primary thing we're going to do is just we're going to hear a presentation and more information about DC natives. And Sean, the for the participants, I believe the individual who'll be presenting and speaking to us is Hollis. So if you wanted to promote to a panelist, that would be great.
I was trying to get the videos. What were you saying?
Oh, I was telling Sean to promote
Oh,
one of
okay.
the panel or guests for our meeting tonight.
Should be good shortly.
I um and I didn't I only asked promote. I didn't I think um that was the primary one. So oops. And Commissioner Jones, I don't know if you're Commissioner Van Wy, he's stuck in a work event, so he may not be able to log in. So, but we're not voting on anything tonight. So, well, we would have had a quorum anyway, but we have nothing to vote on. It's just a presentation.
Do you have any information on the bus plan?
I don't, other than what Commissioner Wood shared earlier today. Other than that, DDOT uh, posted their comments a couple weeks ago in response to comments that were sent in, and that DDOT will be uh, doing a community-wide meeting at some point to go over those comments and the plan. But there's no date.
Yeah, I intended to reach out to Kevin because I I think Peter sent me a note a couple of weeks ago about a planned parking space somewhere up here. You familiar with that?
I have not heard about that. But maybe we can talk about it a bit more at the offline or at the full ANC meeting.
Yeah, as I understood it, and I got a brief of it. it's supposed to go in the direction of making up for the extreme amount of parking space we're losing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to contact Kevin tomorrow.
Okay. So I see that our two guests have been promoted. I don't know which one of you wanted to present, or both can. You're both welcome. And if you're welcome to also share a screen if that's easier, or I can also share content for you too. But yeah, so we're welcome to the ANC 1C Public Services and Environment Committee meeting. We meet about once a month. And this seemed like your organization seemed like a really good fit for some of the things that we talk to our community members about, and we're really excited to learn more about your program. So I will turn it to you for introductions.
All right, thank you. I'm going to try to share my screen. This is the first time I have ever done this on Zoom, so bear with me for just a moment.
We've all been there.
Does that work?
Yep, you're seeing, if you want it in presentation mode, or you can just stretch it, but yeah, we can see your slides.
Thought I put it in presentation mode.
That's even bigger now, so yeah, we see it.
Yes, we see it.
Now I need to figure out how to get it out of full screen though, so I can see my notes, but maybe.
Oh, if you want to minimize it, and then stretch it so you can see, that would work as well.
That's okay. I got it.
Okay.
We will do it this way. Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Hollis, and I am a volunteer and block captain with DC Natives, and we do residential pollinator gardens in partnership with neighbors all over DC. So I really appreciate you inviting us to talk about our organization tonight. And I also want to introduce Sarah, who is a resident in your neck of the woods and also your neighborhood DC Natives block captain. We have block captains all across the city, and we couldn't do this without the help of block captains. And maybe by the end of my presentation, you'll be interested in becoming a block captain or at least planting a garden.
Does the garden have to be within the block or something like that?
Anybody who is a resident of DC can get a garden. So our mission is to support a healthy climate by increasing pollinator habitats and creating the local beauty we believe every resident deserves. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're an all volunteer run organization, and we're supported by community members, donations, and grants. And the organization began back in 2017 as a grassroots effort that was led by a couple of key women, including Thorn Rinkin, who is our executive director, Miss Ann Miller, and Miss Peaches, and other community members who live in wards 7 and 8. And recognizing a shared interest in gardening and building community within DC, this group of amazing women started working together on, yards and small projects around wards 7 and 8. And since then, DC Natives has completed over 250 gardens, literally growing our presence across all wards in DC. And this map shows the location of our gardens. And you can see we're kind of lacking some representation sort of in your neck of the woods. So we would love to get involved more over there and inspire gardeners in your area. And we really want to fill up this map with flowers, and that comes by getting people to plant gardens. And, throughout the city, we've got block captains to help us do outreach and help us connect with the communities and help us plant in those communities and serve as, an ambassador for our organization and serve as a resource to participants. So why do we think this is really important? Well, we're in the midst of an insect apocalypse. Research has shown that there's been major declines in insect populations around the world, with over 41% facing extinction. And a lot of factors contribute to this: climate change, disease, parasites, pesticide use, environmental contamination, and loss of habitat. And we know that most of these are like big daunting issues that you feel like you can't really do anything about, but we think that the loss of habitat is something that we can address in our homes, in our yards. And so that's what we'll be talking about in the coming slides. So pollinators provide a really vital but often unnoticed services for us. Most plants can't reproduce without pollen carried to them by foraging pollinators. So 75% of the world's flowering plants and 35% of the world's food crops depend on animal pollinators to reproduce. So they pollinate our apples and bananas and blueberries and melons and peaches, potatoes, coffee and chocolate. Who wants to live without those? And scientists estimate that 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat exists because of animal pollinators. So just think about the food you ate today and just the contribution that pollinators had in those bites of food. And without them, crop production could be affected, food availability might become more scarce, and prices of food could increase because of this. So pollinators come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. They're butterflies and moths, they're bees, and not just honeybees, but local bees, your native little bees that you might see flying around your garden, birds and bats, beetles, all kinds of other insects are pollinators. And we focus on planting native flowering plants, like the ones you see in this picture. You've got bee balm in the bottom left corner, or you've got echinacea or coneflower in the middle, that purple middle flower there. You've got Joe pieweed and hyssop and all kinds of beautiful plants. And this is what a native plant garden could look like. And the native plants are really important because they provide a lot of benefits. So local insects, birds, and other animals, and these native plants have co-evolved for thousands of years. The plants provide food and shelter for our local wildlife. And if we don't have native plants, there are effects that reverberate up the food chain and across the ecosystem. So if the pollinators can't find the right quantity or quality of food, meaning the pollen and nectar in these plants and within their flight range, then they can't survive. And the pollinators also live and produce in these native habitats, like in these plants themselves. And birds also really rely on native plants for food and habitat, and they rely on the pollinator, insects themselves as a food source. And that native plants also tend to be hardier and more resilient. They're designed to live in our ecosystem. So, they're relatively pest free. They require fewer resources, like water, pest management to survive. So they're just better suited to be planted here. And of course, they're beautiful. So native plants, as I've kind of mentioned already, can be both a food source and a host plant. So nectar is the food source that pollinators get from the plants, and host plants are plants that a butterfly or caterpillar lives on, eats or lays their eggs on. And this relationship between some of these, butterflies and these plants can be very specific. Like, imagine being able to only eat one thing in your life. That's what it's like for some of these insects who have a specific host plant. So it's really critical for you had to have some of these plants in nature to promote or to actually support growth and development. And plants can be both, they don't have to be just one. So this is a picture of a monarch butterfly caterpillar on an Asclepias plant, or also known as a milkweed plant. And their monarch butterfly numbers, both eastern and western monarch numbers, are down everywhere. And monarch caterpillars only eat milkweed, and monarch butterfly mothers only lay their eggs on milkweed. So if we don't have milkweed in nature, we won't have monarchs. So that's one of the plants that we really love to see people plant in their yards because it supports monarchs. It also provides nectar for the flowers, provide nectar for other pollinators, but it's really exciting when you see the caterpillars on these plants. So in designing our gardens, we like to think about, the host and nectar plants that provide food and habitat year round. So we have what we call this rule of three. So we're planting for 3 seasons. So we get those early spring bloomers for insects that come out early, like some of your native bees that emerge in springtime. And then you've got, your other plants that bloom all throughout summer into fall and November for insects that are out year round, or for those that emerge later in the season. And then we really want to have at least 3 species in a garden. The more you can have, the better, but at least 3. And that provides different food and habitat for different types of pollinators. So you're targeting those specialists like monarchs, but then you've got other plants available in your garden for generalists or other species that you're interested in. And then you really want to have at least 3 plants of each species. And that just makes sure that there's enough nectar in your garden for the next meal. You want to provide a whole bag of chips, not just one chip. So that's our rule of 3. And then we also don't want to forget about winter. Like, winter gardens are really important. It's not just about the growing season. And this is what your garden should look like in winter. We really encourage people to embrace the messiness, and not cut it back, because these seed heads provide food for birds. The litter from the leaves and the plants provide overwintering habitat for bugs. And bees nest in the stems of like these echinacea, those thick hollow stems. They lay their eggs in those stems, and then in the spring the baby bees will emerge from those stems. So we think it's really important to leave your garden alone in the winter. And then, because we plant perennial plants, which are plants that come back every year, in springtime when the new growth starts to emerge, you can cut it back. We don't encourage people to cut it back to the ground, but cut it back, and then the new shoots will all grow up around it, and you'll start to see all the new critters come back to life. So now that hopefully you're excited about native habitat and the wildlife that it supports, let's talk about what you can do and how you can get involved. So you can build a garden with our help, or you can do it on your own. For the DIYers out there, our website, dcnatives.org, has step-by-step instructions for you to plant a garden. Most people plant them in the ground, like in this picture, but you can also do raised garden beds. You can also do container gardens, which is what I have in my backyard, since I just have a concrete pad back there and no soil to plant in. It's totally doable to do container gardens if that's all the space that you have. And we can help with that. And you can spread the word and help get your neighbors involved and help your neighbors build a garden. And you can also volunteer with us. You can become a block captain. You can just help us install gardens, just to be an ambassador for DC natives. And, you can also just, help people weed and do other things throughout the year. And if you've got other skills, we welcome that too. Like, I'm a master gardener, so I just help people with plant questions, if they need it, and things like that. So we love to get people with all skill sets and interests involved. So when you sign up with us to get a garden, then what we do is we'll come out and we'll help you plan your garden. So we do a site visit to your home and we talk about where the sun is coming from, where your water source is. Do you have dogs or kids that play in your yard? So you need a space dedicated for them, away from, plant your plants away from them. We talk about, the importance of not using pesticides in your yard. And we've got a flower menu. So we work with you to pick out what flowers you love and to try to meet that rule of 3, so that we're growing for all seasons and really helping all of the critters out there. And then, we sign some forms and write your flowers down and we get started, planning. And then next, on planting day, we provide you with free flowers, free plants, and we help you plant your garden. We get out there too and get in the dirt and help you. And then we also provide support continuing. So we don't just plant your garden and leave. We send out reminders about watering. We help you along your gardening journey. And we provide educational sessions too for folks. So it's not just a one and done and leave ya. We're here for the long haul. And then what you do on your end is you prepare your garden space. You got to take out any grass that's there, in your way, or you got to take out the weeds or the bushes. And if you've got a particularly terrible yard, or just like physically can't handle some of this work, we do provide support for that as well. So people with difficult yards, we're not just going to leave you hanging and tell you can't get a garden. We've got support for that as well. And then you've got to help plant your garden. We like the people to get involved and be invested in their garden. So we expect you to be there on gardening day with your gloves on, ready to go. We also ask folks not to use pesticides, because this really defeats the purpose of putting pollinator plants in your yard. It'll deter them from coming to your plants. So it's a lot of pesticides, or just general pesticides, that target all critters, not just one or two. So we really encourage people not to use pesticides. And we've got other methods, that we can recommend for mosquito treatment and things like that to help address, most people are worried about mosquitoes. So we've got suggestions on how to reduce mosquito populations without using pesticides. And then water your garden, enjoy it, watch it grow, take pictures of them, send it to us. Look for those critters, just watch the life that comes to your garden. This is our favorite part, to see them thriving and to see them come back year after year. So that's my presentation. If you're interested in planting a garden or volunteering, we've got a Get Involved page on our website, and we just really hope to get people excited about pollinator gardens and hope to work with folks everywhere to build this pathway. So happy to take questions and stay on. Stop sharing so I think I can see people's, or I'll leave this. I think I can see the chat.
No, and Can I say something?
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead,
yeah.
Oh,
Commissioner
okay.
Jones.
No, in my previous life, I was with the gardening program, DC Department of Recreation, and I was instrumental in putting a garden out in South Ward 8. I don't remember the street because it was 20 years ago, but I'm hoping that it's still there. Um, but it's in Ward 8, so or do you have your gardens by wards? Could you see? Because I'd like to see if it's still there. I'm sure if I went there, I wouldn't remember how to get there. But if I went there, I would remember it. And there were a couple of enthusiasts. But this was 20 years ago. But I'm
Wow.
hoping that the garden is still there because they were growing foods and it was a pretty large um, area. What I'd done, I scoured DC for vacant lots, then got in touch with the owners of the lots and asked them if they would make the while it wasn't used for whatever purpose that they had in mind, if it could be available for gardening. And I got significant responses around the city. And that was one that was memorable because I worked with preparing the soil and putting a fence around it. And it was, and again, the people were quite enthusiastic about it. And that's where you wanted to be out in Ward 8, 7 and 8. I wish I could see, I looked at your map. I wish I could determine where. Do you have gardens in Ward 7 and 8?
Yeah, we have I'd say a majority of our gardens are in Ward 7 and 8. We have started to expand quite a bit in other wards too, but we've got a strong presence and continue to really support the
Okay.
program in 7 and 8.
Yeah, this was within 8. In fact, the garden up the street, uh, Gallery, it's not Gallery Park, but Gallery Park. They have a little space for a garden there. I was
Mhm.
able to,
Yeah, there's a community
I
garden
was
there.
able to get DC to put the initial groundwork and prepare the soil for the residents to be able to use it for a garden. That's neither here nor there. I'm more interested in the one you have in Ward 8 because I would like to know if it's still around. Now you say if people want to put, because in my building, I'd love to have a garden on the roof. You support that sort of thing as well?
Um, I know, is it a apartment building?
Yes.
Um, we mostly so we mostly focus on individual homes. We have done
Okay.
some, but we have, as long as you've got a person who is dedicated
Right.
to taking care of it,
I
we
know. Yeah.
certainly would consider it. We need somebody in the community who
Right.
will be
Who
that garden
falls in love with it. Yeah.
caretaker. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we've done container gardens for folks, and like I have a container garden in my backyard. So we've done container gardens up on fifth floor
Okay.
balconies. So
Okay.
it is doable for sure.
Okay.
So yeah, because you mentioned that Ward 1, like your map was sort of that's where you had some vacancies. What do you think are some of the bigger barriers for Ward 1? Is it just the lack of like a space where someone can maintain it, or just maybe awareness of the program, or
I think it's just awareness. I mean, like I said, we only started in 2017, and
okay,
Okay.
it was an organization of like 3 or 4 people,
okay,
and like we are just all volunteer run,
yeah,
and we're trying to grow our organization and be able to support more people. But I mean, realistically, with the help that we have, I mean, if we could get more help and get more volunteers, we try to do about 30 or in the last year or so, I'd say we try to do about 30 or 40 gardens in a season, which is a tremendous amount of gardens for us to do.
Right.
It's a lot of
yeah,
work. But
yeah,
these are the first couple of seasons that we've really been able to do that many. I mean, it used to be, maybe 15 gardens a season. So we plant in the spring and the fall.
okay,
And so when people sign up, they're they're fed into when you sign up on our website, that information goes into a spreadsheet, and we just keep track of people who are signing up, and we just then reach out to people. That like the process is that you get invited to a Zoom call where you learn more about the whole process, and what it takes, and then we come to a site visit. And so we try to get to people as quickly as we can. Like we try to get to them within a season or two. We like to say that we're faster than the River Smart folks, who I don't know if anybody has had experience with River Smart,
Yeah,
but they can
I've
sometimes take like a year or
yeah,
more to get to people. We like to say that we're faster than
that's
them,
okay.
but as interest
Okay.
grows, like we have had trouble meeting the demand. But yeah, I mean, that's where volunteers come in, and we're really working on getting more volunteers. But so I think a lot of it is interest or knowledge of BC natives, having space, to grow, and having an interest in taking care of it, and just our bandwidth to get out there.
And what about tree boxes? Like we have a number of neighbor or residents in our ANC. I'm thinking particularly on Euclid Street that have tried to to beautify the block and stuff, but done a lot with their tree boxes. Like I don't know if that's a space that you all would help with or could coordinate or add it
Yep. We have
because they
definitely planted in tree boxes. I think, whoever's tree box it is, you gotta really think about your block and if it's sustainable. Like on my block, I've got plants in my tree box, but like every dog in the neighborhood
yeah,
tramples them. But a lot of people, don't have the same problems that I have in my neighborhood. I live in
right.
Eckington, so on a very busy street. So but we have done a lot of tree boxes. You got to be careful sometimes too. I think it depending on your neighbor, like there are height restriction. DC actually has height restrictions for tree boxes. I
Yeah.
don't know that they really enforce it. And you can always chop them early before they bloom so they don't get as tall.
Okay.
But yeah, we do tree boxes. We're totally open to tree boxes.
And getting to, I know it's not a unique problem to Adams Morgan, but we feel like it is, rats.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you, is there any mitigation or help that you do? Like, for some of the plantings do you do additional reinforcement or putting wire down or anything to help with that? Or would you
So
recommend that?
we haven't done it. I mean, if somebody is interested in doing that, it certainly can be done, I guess, as part of your prep.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, the rats are here. They're always going to be here. So, we've got rats galore in my neighborhood too, and I don't worry about them. But as another example of control for a pest or an invasive, like if yards have crabgrass in it, so crabgrass is really invasive. It's a real
Mhm.
pain in the butt, but people who have it, who really want to garden, they dig it out, of the space they want, and then we'll put in metal flashing. You have to bury it, it
Yeah.
in the ground to keep the roots from coming through. So, we have taken physical controls to keep things out of places, but we've never addressed rats. So
And I think I noticed on your website, do you work with community gardens or offer assistance or trainings or something? I'm just wondering if community gardens can
we've done that
participate.
in the past. We're really focusing on residential
Okay.
gardens now, again, because the community garden, sometimes it's hard to have a steady person
Okay.
there. There's a lot of other resources in the city too that help with community
Mhm.
gardens. So we've really dedicated our focus to residential.
Okay.
Now you do vegetables as well as plants?
We just do pollinators.
Oh,
We
pollinators,
encourage
okay.
people, we think they're great to to, co-plant with vegetables, but we just do native pollinators.
Okay.
And then I think those were most of my, do you coordinate or work at all with the Department of Parks and Recreation or?
No, we don't.
Okay. Um, is there any in it other than like helping to promote the program? I'm totally going to volunteer, by the way. So I'll click and do that stuff all afterwards because this is really of interest to me. And I am part of the community garden at 14th and Euclid, but this is my last year in that garden because like we only have 5-year periods and then it's a wait list. And but I still want to be active in planting. So this would be a great opportunity. Is there any other supports or things that your organization would need that we could help with?
I mean, get the word out, volunteers. Of course, we always take donations. If people have grant writing skill, I mean, if you want to become a block captain like Sarah, I mean, you can have multiple. So block captains are a little bit of a misnomer. It's not, we don't just work on blocks. We support whole neighborhoods, and it's great to have multiple block captains to support neighborhoods or a whole ANC. So if we can encourage people who are interested to become block captains, we have a whole training for block captains to teach them about DC natives and what they can do to support us. But I mean, yeah, we take any and all help that skill sets that would help us, thrive, whether that's block captain, gardening, or other, fundraising skills or anything.
And I guess what's the role of the block captain? Do they like, and Sarah, if you want to like chime in as well, like do you like help to remind people about watering or like walk around and see how the garden is doing or?
I can tell you my experience, and Sarah, jump into with your experience, and it really varies by what a block captain wants to do, like how involved they want to get.
Okay.
But they a lot of times they're the ones who are reaching out and spreading the word. So like Sarah, helped get invited to this
Yes.
call.
Yes.
And then they also attend all of the site visits, with the participants and help them through the process, get them links to the application and the forms, and work through the site visits, and making sure that people have their prep done, before we show up with plants, helping people prep their gardens, and then staying in touch with people. And you don't have to do all of this, like, different people have bandwidth for different amounts of work. But those are some of the things that block captains do.
Well, it sounds like you guys offer a lot of support. And I think that's really important, especially if it's someone who's sort of a first-time gardener and not really, because you can be discouraged very quickly when your garden doesn't thrive. So that can be really I see it all the time in our community garden. It's people get discouraged, and it just takes practice and being patient and just a little bit of assistance. So that's a really awesome thing that you guys are offering to sort of help people through that.
Yeah, and we're trying to even be better about that and provide more. And like we understand plants die, so if something dies and you need it replaced, we offer free infill plants too. So like I said, like we stick around to make sure that your garden is thriving, and that people are excited and happy and continue to keep it thriving.
Awesome. Well, I don't have any other questions unless you do, Commissioner Jones. Might be. But we'll definitely share this information with the other commissioners, and also share it in our outreach and literature that we do. I'm thinking a lot about some particular tree boxes, maybe in the Adams Morgan neighborhood that might have less dog traction and might be some good spots for us to add some additional pollination to the community because I think it would be great.
We also
But
recently initiated an event called First Flower Fridays,
yeah, and I meant
where
that was my other note. That's right. There, I see it in the chat. So what is that about?
yeah, so that was a way for us to do more education and outreach in communities. So if somebody is willing to host at their house, like a First Flower Friday, we've only had a couple of them so far, but like at one of them, we had free plants to give away. We did a demonstration on how to divide up your plants, so that if they're overgrowing, so that you can share them or move them around in your garden or give them away to friends and neighbors. And it was just a way for community members to connect and meet each other and just bond over gardening. That's the creating community part.
Yeah.
So like we hope to continue that and expand it, in all kinds of neighborhoods to really help build the community more. So that's something you could consider too.
Awesome. To look at that as well. All right, Commissioner Jones, do you have any other questions or comments?
No, I really like the idea, but I don't have any questions. It reminds me of a garden. As I mentioned, I had a garden program. It was over on, I think, between 13th and 14th on Harvard, I think, or maybe it was Euclid.
Probably Euclid.
Yeah, but this was again 20 years ago. And the place was near the fire station over there. The fire station was there.
Mm.
Was this little guy? I never forget him. He was a really gentleman, elderly gentleman. But he grew a watermelon, and I watched it. And he watched through the summer. We watched the watermelon grow, and it got to be so. He would go out there, and it was a really big, pretty watermelon. The only problem is, I think it was the day before or the week before, a couple of days before, he wanted to plant it, and he died. And but to watch him, daily go through watching his watermelon grow was something I'll never forget.
Yeah.
When
I did the
something
Master Gardener
thrives.
program, by the way. I did the Master Gardener program at the UDC.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that where you took it? Yeah.
yeah. I loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah. That's it.
Great.
That's all.
Well, like I said, you can expect a volunteer out of me. I'll fill
Oh,
out your
great.
forms. But,
Thank you.
yeah, because and I think I would learn a lot too.
I like
Maybe
the
why.
idea. I really like the idea of, I'm just keep going through my mind in my own particular S&D, if there's any space available for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I do think we do have a lot of newer buildings that do have small terraces and other things, but I think that is one um factor for particularly for Adams Morgan.
Yeah.
Some other like Mount Pleasant or other have a bit more yard space, but it is a bit of a challenge for the Adams Morgan community. So that's why I think in being more creative sometimes with flower boxes and stuff, sometimes there's a little something that might be able to be done there.
Yeah.
But
If you look up, I think you can find it online. Um, there's a woman in Northwest along like the Van Ness corridor. She does the like all of the flower boxes along like Connecticut or Wisconsin
okay.
Avenue. She's done amazing work up there. And so yeah, I mean, flower boxes are the tree boxes are
Right.
totally or
And would
can
you
be
work
done.
with well, I guess the tree boxes and flower boxes are public. I know some of the businesses in Adams Morgan, some of them have done some work with the tree boxes in front of their businesses to beautify them. But would you work with a business also? Like if they wanted to do that, or does it need to be residential?
Like I said, we really focus on
Okay.
residential. Not to say that wouldn't be something we think about, but I think our priorities are
Yeah.
residential.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. Oh, thank you for the name. Yeah.
Kathy is great. She's
Okay.
amazing.
Yeah. I'll have to go check them out now. All right. Well, that was like I said, we didn't have I just wanted to make sure to get you guys on the agenda because we've been back and forth, and once summer rolls around, we don't have as many meetings. So we'll definitely share this information, and hopefully we'll get some more gardens in our area to help fill out your map more, because that would be great. And of course, help with the pollination. So with that, I think that's all the business that I have tonight for the PSE committee. So we can call it a night.